Hello, welcome to Dharma Talk Tuesday. Julie Surratt here, as always, every week at 4 o'clock. No, 6 o'clock Pacific. It used to be at 4 o'clock. Now it's at 6 o'clock, which is right now. The topic today is the two main things that are blocking you from your manifesting. What I focus on the most in my teachings and training and coaching and all of that is primarily money manifesting, business and life purpose manifesting. But the honest truth is that this applies to everything. Like, this applies to relationships, this applies to your body, your wellness, all of the above. So as you are joining us right now, give me some hearts and some likes. Comment with where you're tuning in from. I know, Nikki, you're tuning in from Australia. Australia in the house. Who else do we have here? Just type in the comments where you are tuning in from. I want to make sure I can see the comments. Let's see. Where else are you tuning in from? And also, if you know anyone who could benefit from learning about what they are doing or what they could do differently to create a flow instead of blockages in their manifesting. And the amazing thing is that the shift that is available to you when you just create a small tweak on these little two things is absolutely miraculous. So Cheryl is tuning in from North Carolina. All right. So as you're joining, just say where you're tuning in from, and then we will get started. Hello. Waving at ya. Hello. Hi. All right. Okay. So the two blocks to your manifesting. Let's just dive right in here. So manifesting is this concept and principle that you are creating your reality. This is triggering for some people because that means you're responsible for your results. And it's like, well, how can I be responsible for my results when I didn't consciously do that or create that? I get it. It's a little bit confrontational. But here's the better way to look at it. Wow, if I'm responsible for my results, if I have the ability to create my reality, I can create something different. Pretty awesome, right? Oh, Nikki, thank you for sharing. Chrissy, Cheryl, Suzanne. So I don't see their names highlighted here. So you can also share it on your page, and you can also invite people. You can usually hit the invite button and invite people, just so you know. Chanel, hi. Nikki Jade, my girls. So good to see you here. I love you. I miss you. Hello. All right. So if you can create a new reality, what would you create? And I always love asking people this, and I would love to see your comments below. If you could wave a magic wand and create specifically something that your heart really desires, let's say by the end of this year, what would that be for you? What would that number one thing be for you if you had the power to create it, which, by the way, you do. But if you're blocking it, then it's not going to come in. So let's talk about those two blocks on what is preventing you from aligning to these things that your heart is feeling called to have. And I just feel like saying, if your heart is feeling called to have it, then there's something behind that. So let's talk about the first thing. The first block is actually indecisiveness. And conversely, when you make a decision, or when you have made the decision, specifically on what you are committed to aligning to manifesting, to receiving, the universe conspires in your favor. it's like this alchemical, energetic thing that happens in the ethers when you make a decision for the thing that you want. And I want to be really clear about what I mean by that. Making a decision is not just an intellectual thing. It's not just writing affirmations. It's not just like writing a note down. Making a decision about what you're committed to creating is a feeling. And it's a feeling of, there's a feeling behind the commitment. It's a feeling of having both feet in and then experiencing the actions and the energy behind and what it really means to be 100% committed and to have made a decision. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to give you the example of, there's so many good examples I could give you. I'm going to give you a relationship example at first. I'm going to give you a relationship example to start with. A vulnerable relationship example, okay? And I'm going to ask for some hearts and likes if any of you can relate to this. So when Matt and I first started dating, and this is very normal, I think, to have, like when you're first dating someone, you're getting to know them, and you're identifying, you're getting clear on if you're really wanting to be all in with this person, like if you really want to commit to them. But then there comes this phase when it's like, I need to make a decision about if I'm in, if I'm really in, or if I'm like out. So that phase was arriving in our relationship back when we first started dating. And I was in a 1 foot in, 1 foot out energy. And what's crazy is I didn't even realize it. But what I did realize was I felt kind of uncomfortable. And I felt like I was putting a lot of energy into the relationship, but not the good kind. It was like an indecisive kind of energy. And it was an energy that I would say wasn't really serving both of us. And in other words, as I was trying to make a decision about whether I was committed or not, after I actually said I was committed, like I had said I was committed, but so like the words were there, I had made a decision to be in the relationship, but energetically I was still deciding. I had not actually decided on the inside. And what happens when you do that, and what I experienced, was I was looking for evidence to help me make my decision, which meant I wasn't focused on his greatness. Even though I had said I'd made a decision that I was in the relationship, I wasn't focused on his greatness or the awesome things he was doing for me and for us. I was actually focused on finding evidence, and this is all subconscious, by the way. This is what happens unconsciously. I was focused on finding evidence on why he wasn't the one for me. And I was focused on finding evidence of what wasn't working. And the truth, everyone, is that you can find evidence for anything in life. I mean, you could find evidence for why the sky is purple. I'm like not even kidding you right now. You can find evidence for anything. If there's one thing I learned from being a scientist back in my previous chapter of my life, it's that you can make stats prove anything. As Erica Fischel as the scientist joins the conversation. Hi, Erica. It's good to see you here. What I was saying was you can make stats prove anything. So like when you're establishing beliefs about your reality, you can actually find evidence for anything. So like as I was in the relationship, I was noticing the things that I wasn't like, I would see some socks on the floor, for example, and now all of a sudden, not the guy for me because he left some socks on the floor, right? And so my point in sharing this with you is that, Nikki, she says, yes, I do data analysis. So my point in sharing this with you is that if you haven't actually made a decision, like intellectually making a decision is great, but if you haven't made that decision from the inside, then you're still in indecision mode. And so you aren't going to be able to manifest and create a reality around you that is in support of that focused, blinders on decision. And here's what happened when I finally made the decision on the inside that I was committed in the relationship. I actually began to find the socks on the floor endearing. And it was like, well, the socks are on the floor, that means Matt's here. And that became something that made me happy. And then I could have a conversation with him about how it was important to me to like have a tidiness around the house, and like being organized was important to me. And then he's like, oh, okay, I can pick my socks up. And it wasn't that big a deal. But do you see how that's a different energy in this case than looking for evidence of why something won't work? So here's what people do. They want to make 5K a month. They want to start a new business. They want to manifest a new relationship. They want to lose weight. They want to get a promotion at work. But then they make a decision intellectually that they want that. But then they're still looking for evidence, like their ego, let's call it, because they're not authentically doing this. It's like their ego does this. Their ego is still looking for evidence of why they're not enough, of why they can't, of why there's a block, of why they're a victim of. It's like the ego looks for all the reasons that we need to stay small. And it's not on purpose. It's not like we're trying to sabotage ourselves, but that's what happens when we're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And the reason why we resist making a decision is this: it is very vulnerable. It feels vulnerable and kind of scary and risky to be both feet in on a decision. I was telling my Mayans earlier today, I am reading a book right now by Neville Goddard, and he takes the scriptures and he talks about them from like a manifesting point of view and a consciousness point of view, and it's so interesting. And one of the things he says, he quotes the Bible and he says, you can't serve two masters. And the way that he helps you understand it is that you can't be in the consciousness of scarcity and expect abundance. So you can't be a servant to scarcity and not enoughness and then expect to call in abundance. Let's just use that as an example. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying in my webinar, if you watched it before, which I'll just provide a recap right now if you didn't, about the energy, the vibrations that Dr. David Hawkins describes as like the bottom one being shame, and then the topmost one being enlightenment, and then there's love and joy and peace and acceptance and courage and desire, and it kind of goes down the spectrum. Well, you can't get from anger into neutrality without leaving anger. Like you can't have both 1 foot on anger and 1 foot in neutrality to be at neutrality. You have to let go of anger. You have to let go of the limitations in order to get to that next level, which means, like I've talked about before, being willing to be wrong, being willing to try on a new coat is another analogy I've used, being willing to be wrong and to experience something new and different, to create new and different results. And that right there takes a decision. The ego loves to be right. Humans love to be right. And so we will look for evidence upon evidence upon evidence to prove that we are right, even when it's not in service to us. And so this first piece of indecisiveness, the first block of indecisiveness, is the first thing that's holding you back from your manifesting. So what does it mean to decide? Like, I would love to see in the comments right now, and I'm going to go back and read these in a moment. What does it mean to you to decide? Like, what is that feeling like for you? What is that intention like for you? What does that mean for you pragmatically? Like, what does it mean for you, those of you that are tuning in or watching this recording? What does it mean for you to make a decision? What does it mean for you to decide? One of the things that it meant for me to decide was to trust. Like, that was a big one for me, was being willing to trust. So like in the relationship with Matt, it meant being willing to trust him. And I had this feeling of like doing the relationship for two. I'm such a controller. I'm like, oh, I'll do the relationship for both of us. And of course I wasn't doing it on purpose, and it wasn't creating the results I wanted by any stretch. So when I made the decision to be both feet in, it felt risky and it felt scary. And I had to make the decision to trust. Like, that's what it felt like, being willing to trust. And then miraculously what ended up happening was I felt like I had more energy because I didn't have this energy drain going out of trying to decide in every moment whether I was in or whether I was out, or whether this evidence pointed to staying or whether it pointed to going. So I had more energy. He experienced me as different because I was generating something different. So he started showing up completely differently. He was like a new man, like unrecognizable, such a great partner, and truly like in partnership and in contribution. in every way. I mean, he transformed. Like when I made a decision, he transformed. Similarly, like in business, when I made the decision to be an entrepreneur and to invest in coaching, even when I couldn't afford it, and to do whatever it took to follow my gut, follow my body wisdom, and trust the guidance that was being put in front of me. It was scary and it was vulnerable and it was risky, but there were very many times when I chose to make an investment, for example, in my own, in my education and in coaching when I couldn't afford it at the time, and then the universe provided. There's another thing that Neville Goddard says in this book, which is, and I will totally butcher this, but it was something like manifestation, it was the imagination or the feeling precedes the manifestation. The feeling precedes the manifestation. So like being willing to have trust and be committed before you have evidence that you should be is how you manifest. I hope that makes sense. I know it's kind of esoteric. Let me just see some of your comments here before I go into the second point. Okay, so we've got Chanel, we've got, let's see, Chanel, she says her manifestation is to be debt-free. Giselle says to be in the Maya program, whoop, whoop, Money Alignment Yoga Academy right there, and having financial freedom while I assist people in up-leveling their health through whole food and nutrition, fun fitness, and extreme self-care practices, especially for women. Beautiful, Giselle. She says, I'm glad I'm here. I thought I missed this. I'm so glad you're here also. Let's see. Cheryl says, stats can absolutely prove anything. Scientist here. Giselle says, how do you get past that barrier when you really feel it is what you want? I need some clarity on what you mean by that, Giselle. How do you get past that barrier when you feel, if you could clarify what you mean by that question, that would be great. Then I can answer it. Crystal says, this is something I absolutely can relate with. Having one foot in and one foot out and wanting so hard to get both feet out. Thank you for this. Yeah, Crystal, I'm so glad this is supportive, and I would love to know also like what's landing with you and what's resonating. Cheryl says, feel like to decide, all in, respect, trust myself and others, committed, peaceful, joy. I love that. Yeah, it's also surrender, I would say. It's also surrender. So thank you, Cheryl. And I would love to hear from others that are tuning in right now or watching the recording. What does deciding feel like for you? Like when you get, this is called emotional cultivation, and this is one of the things I teach in my group program. When you are cultivating the energy and the feeling of having made a decision, what does that feel like for you on the inside? Like, I'll just give you an example. Like for me, it feels like spaciousness. It feels like wisdom. It feels like empowerment. It feels like lightness. It feels like joy, to use one of Cheryl's words. It feels like excitement, like an up-leveling, like an uplifting. Like that's what the energy of decision feels like. And that's something you can cultivate, and like where your attention goes, energy flows, right? So you can focus your energy and your emotions and your intention on that, and you're going to be putting laser energy towards that, and then that's going to grow into something. That's going to sprout into something in your life, blossom into something. Giselle says, even though I make a decision, I feel I'm on the fence, which is frustrating and snags me up. Yeah, so Giselle, I would encourage you and anyone else who can relate to Giselle right now to identify what feels scary about being all in. Like what makes you nervous or scared or uncomfortable or afraid of being all in the decision. So rather than being on the fence, so you said you feel I'm on the fence, okay? So there's something in that. There's something there that is inhibiting you from being all in. So another example, like I'll just be honest and vulnerable. One of the things that I felt really uncomfortable with about being in that level of commitment and decision in my relationship with Matt, when I was in that space, was, again, a lack of trust. Like, what if I go all in? What if I am in like full all in commitment and he breaks my heart? and he leaves me? Or like, what if like somehow I'm like taken advantage of, or like he lies to me, or like I'm like he disrespects me or makes a fool of me? Like, these were the thoughts that were going through my head that inhibited me from being all in. So I want you to think about that for you. And it's like, if you can get comfortable with the worst case scenario, I know that might sound kind of icky, but if you look at that, it's like, oh, I can survive through that. But the amazing thing is that didn't happen. Actually, that did happen. He did leave me. But then he came back, and that's a whole other story. But well, I will tell you, when he did leave me, in that moment that he left me, I had one really powerful thought, which was, I'm so glad I was all in. Like, it feels so good to stand here in such a level of integrity, knowing that I was all in. I made a decision to be in full trust and full commitment, and I did everything I could to make this relationship work. And it was a level of self-respect and self-love that no money can buy. You know, it's just priceless. And when you show up like that in relationship and in business and with your clients and in your life, it's extremely powerful. And then guess what? He ended up coming back, and now we have a better relationship than ever. So, decision. That's the first thing. Camden! Oh my gosh. Hi! It's so good to see you here. Thank you for tuning in. Love you, love you, love you. Okay, so let's talk about the second block to the manifesting. And by the way, if you're tuning in live or if you're tuning into the recording, if you have questions about the first block, which is indecisiveness towards making a decision, post a comment, post a question, and I'm happy to answer it for you, either live or in the comments. So, block number 2. Block number 2 is judgment. Judgment means either judging someone else or judging yourself, which, let's be honest, those of us doing transformational work know that if you are judging someone else, it means actually what's really happening is you're judging yourself. So the energy of judgment is a major block, because judgment implies that there's a right and there's a wrong. There's a right answer and there's a wrong answer. And what that does is it closes you off and it puts you in the energy of a need to be right. Now, can anyone tell me, pop quiz in the comments, what is one of the prerequisites, one of the keys to being able to shift your energy, to creating an energy set point shift? What is one of the prerequisites? Those of you that tune in with Dharma Talk Tuesday every week. And why would judgment be a block to your manifesting, given the energy set point shift and the key to create it? Anyone, post in the comment section, post in the comment section, post in the comment section. Giselle says, thanks millions, Julie. You are welcome. All right, going for 5, 4, 3, 2, anyone? No? All right, so the reason why judgment would stop you from creating an energy set point shift, Giselle says, gratitude instead of judgment. Good guess. There are 3 key shifts to create an energy set point shift, which I talked about in a previous Dharma Talk Tuesday. And the very first one is a willingness to be wrong. It's the very first one. So if you're in the energy of judgment, that's pretty much the same as being committed to being right. That's the opposite of being willing to be wrong. So if you're committed to being right, that automatically puts you in a defensive position about it's like your reality. And if your reality is not working for you in some capacity, why would you defend it? Like, why would you be committed to being right about that point of view or that reality, right? So being willing to be wrong is what creates a shift. And as I mentioned before, being willing to be wrong is very vulnerable. It feels like defenseless in a way. It feels like your underbelly is exposed. But that's where the transformation happens. I mean, literally, I'm just thinking about like in the scriptures and all the ancient texts, it talks about the value of humility and humbleness and being like that open-minded student. And it's such a powerful place to be. So if you're in the energy of judgment, and I say this from a very non-judgmental perspective, because I will tell you honestly and vulnerably that I know this to be true, because I get very judgmental when I am in my inauthentic self. When I'm in my ego self, being judgmental is my go-to. So I know what happens. Like, I am saying this from a place of knowing firsthand what happens when you're in judgment energy. When you are in judgment energy, it creates separation. It creates defensiveness for both parties. It creates walls. It creates division. It creates misunderstanding. It creates assumption. It creates all things that are the opposite of love. So the opposite of judgment is compassion, forgiveness, a willingness to understand, to empathize, to be in the other person's shoes. And one of my mentors says connection is currency. So if you're committed to creating connection, and if you like currency, then you need to release judgment from your life whenever you see it. And judgment is one of those insidious things that, again, it's so hard to see when it is happening if you don't have someone to point it out to you, or if you don't have a really high level of self-awareness. Svadhyaya is the word that we use in Sanskrit, self-knowledge. Because when you're in judgment about something, sometimes it feels so right. And like, you will defend it till the end of the earth. I will defend it till the end of the earth. I mean, I can tell you there are 1,000 things that I have a point of view about that I've had like major existential crises over. Yep, Giselle, exactly. Shanda, connection is currency. I've had major existential crises over in getting honest and clear with myself about, like, am I willing to be wrong about this? Because I felt like, I don't know, it's almost like your survival hinges on being right about it. And on some level, the ego's survival does. And the ego is what's keeping you small. The ego is what's blocking your manifesting. It's what's holding you back. And judgment is what the ego uses to keep you small, keep you safe, to not ripple the waters. So I'll give you an example. I have a friend who is pretty much the opposite of me. She's one of my best friends. She is the opposite of me in almost every way, but we have similar values and interests and missions in the world. So we are really good friends, and we get along, and we support each other. So she had some things going on in her world that I had some major judgments about. And I'm telling you guys, like, this was literally like recent, like, you know, over the last like months time span. And I felt really right about my point of view. And I had this feeling, like, hearts and likes, if you can relate to this one. I had this point of view of, like, if she would just listen to me and listen to my point of view and take my coaching and my advice and my suggestions and implement them in her life would be so much better. And she wouldn't have breakdowns A, B, and C, because my point of view works. I preach the truth, and if she were to just listen to me and do what I say, she'd be so much happier. Hearts and likes. And so, but I also knew, because I have done a lot of transformational work, that if I were to go in and like bulldoze the conversation and say, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, why aren't you doing this? She would feel really not heard. I would probably hurt her feelings. And like, before I did transformational work, and before I, you know, had coaches helping me and supporting me and pointing out my blind spots and holding my hand through my own transformation, this is exactly what I would do. And it costed me relationships. And people had this experience of me like I was selfish because I did this. So what I did instead was I gave myself a chance to assess the judgment and ask myself, again, this is the first key energy set point, you guys. So key energy set point shift. Like, I literally do this in my life. That's why I know it works. What am I willing to be wrong about this? In what way am I willing to be wrong about this? So for like weeks, I just stopped and was in assessment. As much as I felt right about my point of view, I just let myself be in the assessment of, I know I have this judgment, but in what way am I willing to be wrong about this? And I landed on and what's amazing was I actually opened myself to receive some resources some people, some books, some things to inform my mind and my energy and to provide me with answers and shift me. So I was able to get on the phone with her in a very different conversation. And it wasn't a conversation of, hey, I think you're broken. You should do this, this, and this. It was a conversation of, you know what? I had some judgments. I admit it. And here's what they were. And here, you know, I care about you. I love you. I want to support you. So I'm here. I'm here to hold space. What can I do? What do you need? And to be in service instead. And to not make it about me, not make it about being right, not make it about having my judgments proven so that I could continue to gather evidence around me of why I'm right, instead to make it about being in relationship and being support. And what ended up happening was intimacy got created. A deeper bond in that friendship got created. And I'll tell you right now, that woman would do anything for me. Not just because of that conversation, but because that's who I am and how I am to her. And it's honestly how I am in every relationship. And I'm inviting you to be that way too. I'm inviting you to show up in such a way that you are, like, I'll even give you another example. I was texting with one of the Mayans, one of my current Mayans, my group coaching program clients, about some of the trainings in Maya, which it's my Money Alignment Yoga Academy. So, you know, for some people, yoga is actually triggering, and it doesn't align or resonate with their beliefs or their upbringing or their background. But this particular woman, despite her beliefs and background, felt resonant to me and my teachings. And so she had been praying about how to align Maya, because she saw all the benefits, to her beliefs and backgrounds and understandings. She'd been praying about it. She'd been getting, praying for clarity about that. And then in the Maya call today, she received the answers. It's like God spoke through me and gave her the answers she had been seeking. And she texted me and she said, oh my gosh, I'm just so relieved to know, I had some conflicts and some confusion about my beliefs as it relates to Maya, and I'm so happy to tell you that I'm on the other side of that. And you know what I said to her? I said, you know what, thank you for sharing that with me, and I am a humble student too. And if you ever want to talk about your beliefs or find a place of alignment in my trainings and teachings and yours, let's have a conversation, because guess what? I'm willing to be wrong too. If she's going to be willing to be wrong and meet me halfway, I am too. And it's not to say in a self-disparaging way for either of us or a disrespecting way to our own beliefs, but rather an open-minded, committed way of engaging in conversation, being intimate, exploration, discovery. And this is how we elevate to our next energy set point level. It's by being open, being willing, and being compassionate, empathetic to others, to their point of view, and to what's needed for both people to have their needs met, to feel heard, understood, and connected. Hearts and likes, if that makes sense and that resonates. And I'll tell you what happens if you're committed to staying in judgment, because there's the opposite side to that as well, right? If you're committed to staying in judgment, the reason why it's a block is because you will continue to create your current reality as you're experiencing it. And you will continue to look for evidence of why you're right about your limitations. So if you want to, if you're really set in your reality, and by set, I mean content, judgment is something that will keep you there. But if you're following me, that's probably not you, because even if you have a lot working for you, there's a next level. And Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, then you are dying. So then it's if I'm looking at what my next level is, and I feel blocked in creating that level and in creating that reality, I want to ask myself, what am I judging? Who am I making wrong? What am I making wrong? What am I willing to be wrong about, so that I can be open to seeing things a new and different way? Okay, so all of that being said, let me see what else is happening here. Nikki says, interesting. Amy says, hi, beautiful. Hello, Lisa. Good to see you here. Hello. Gretchen, I saw you were texting me. I'll get back to you very soon. As you can see, this is where I was. That's why I haven't responded yet. But I will get back to you shortly. And so let's see. Who else is on here? Hearts and likes if this is resonating, if this is making sense. And if you, I know this is also rather esoteric, so if you have questions, you can post them in the comment section. If, as you saw Nikki doing, she invited some of her friends here. Hi, Nikki's friends. If you know anyone who could benefit from this conversation, who you feel would really have a lot of openings and some powerful realizations and thoughts, from learning this point of view and learning exactly what I've taught here, please hit the share button on this Facebook Live. And also you can actually hit the invite button and you can invite people on as well. And you can also tag people. So I would love to see some new faces. I love my loyal peeps, the people who always come, but I would love to see some new faces here as well, because that's how we spread. I mean, I'm really committed to hitting 1 million people in my impact and influence of this type of empowered message. So Shawnee, hi, hello, good to see you again today. So all of this being said, you've heard Maya mentioned a few times in this conversation. And if you don't know what it is, it's my group coaching program. It's my 6-month program where you learn how to identify your dharma, your calling. Dharma is a Sanskrit word for duty, and it's the thing that you were put on this earth to accomplish and do and be and have and create. So it's like your impact, it's like your business, it's like the thing that your heart whispers to you and says in the night, like Shawnee, you need to grow your Juice Plus business, or Giselle, you need to write your book, or Gretchen, it's time for you to grow your empire, or whatever it is. And I'm just scrolling up again. And so Maya is the program that helps you do that. And it does 3 things. It teaches you how to align your body wisdom with your actions. So a lot of times people know what they need to do and they're doing it, but their body alignment is completely not matched up. Like they're closed off in their heart chakra, or they're blocked in their root chakra, and it's causing, like, that reflects into their reality. So even though they're doing all the right things, they're actually blocked in those energetic chakras, which is impacting their results in their life. So the first thing that you get is a custom yoga practice. The second thing that you get in Maya is you learn how to manifest. And this is like the esoteric side, like the energetic, the spiritual, the emotional, which is so important. And if you're not doing that, again, you're missing something really important. So that's the second thing you learn in Maya. And then the third thing is you learn strategy. You learn how to be a powerful enroller, how to land with people, how to confidently and articulately connect with people in such a way that they hear you and they get it and they're an easy yes to the thing, the unique, beautiful thing that you're offering in the world. And then finally, you learn the strategies on how to influence and impact and connect with more people. And the way that you receive, well, like I said earlier, connection is currency. And I also say income equals impact. So if you want to create more income, you got to create more impact. And this is how you do it. So if you're interested in learning more about Maya, send me a message. I'd love to hear from you, and we'll get on the phone for a complimentary conversation about if it's a good fit for you. The truth is, it's not a good fit for everybody. If it's not a good fit for you, I'll be really honest with you about that. But if it is a good fit for you, and I see so many of my Mayans on right now, so hello, ladies. I love working with you. I have such a great community of women right now. It's a very special group. And if you are interested in joining the beautiful sisterhood that is the Mayans that are whoop whoop in the house right now, then send me a message. I'd love to speak with you. And if you are a good fit, I will stand for you to be a yes to it, to make a decision. This is that decision moment. Like, do you have a vision to create your Dharma intentionally rather than by default or the way that society tells you to create it? Like, do you have an intention to live life by your design, by your intention, by your manifestation? And are you at a point where you are ready to decide that it's time to do it right, and it's time to do it in alignment with your internal compass, your wisdom, through God's calling for you. And if that decision is at a 100% yes for you, then I really encourage you to message me, and I can guide you in if Maya is the right fit for you, or if maybe even another support system is the right fit for you. But I will tell you that if you're in that place of decision and you're not working with a mentor to point out your blind spots about, hey, you're blocking yourself right there, hey, you're out of alignment right there, hey, you're being judgmental right there, or to be in relationship and in community and in sisterhood with other high-level souls and women who are up to similar things, and then you're really missing out. So I would hate for you to miss out. And we're only enrolling into Maya for another couple weeks. So if you're wanting to join, now is the time. Maya is either not happening again after this wave, either this is going to be the last wave, or I'm completely changing the program altogether and the investment is doubling. So I'm still in that decision point around it right now. So I'm in my own process with that. But so if you're wanting to join this wave as it stands right now, as a 6-month program with these amazing women who are in it right now, then you want to send me a message so we can talk about it. All right. It's been a pleasure to see all of you, as it always is, on Dharma Talk Tuesday in the Dharma Talk Tuesday chair. I'm here every week, 6 o'clock Pacific. I will see you next week. Invite your friends, put in your calendar, and I'll see you then. Have a gorgeous rest of your evening. Bye.